Hi, I'm Fee, and a lot has happened lore-wise since last recap, so let's review. We already covered the legend from the beginning. We reviewed our main characters, covered the gods and goddesses, and some surface lore. Together, we fully tempered the goddess's sword, Link's soul, and have opened the Gate of Time. Before we went through it though, we had to beat back the imprisoned, and this is where Bruce stays true to the most redeeming part of his character, his determination. He has built the Gruesinator and assists Link in fighting the imprisoned back. Link goes through the Gate of Time and is now in the Goddesses era, where the goddess Hylia has just sealed away demise. Gravely weakened, Hylia binded her soul to a mortal vessel, renouncing her goddess power and immortality in favor of eternally returning anew to fight demise and his forces again. She may have been immortal in the sense that she shall never age, and she will be timeless, but she was never immortal as in unkillable. Knowing she would die soon from her injuries, she put a plan in action. To have Zelda purified, she showed Zelda everything and gave her goddess spirit to Zelda. And Zelda, now knowing everything, or being enlightened, made the decision to take the responsibility from the dying goddess, therefore making it her own responsibility. This is where things get confusing and the timeline in this game gets wibbly wobbly.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Zelda was born with the goddess's spirit already, because she knowingly accepted it in the past, thousands of years before she was born. That is how Girahim knew to grab her in particular from the sky. Zelda's knowledgeable acceptance of the goddess Hylia's spirit is also why Zelda in future games is imbued with the Triforce of Wisdom. By knowingly accepting responsibility, she's able to use the sacred power within herself. Back to the story. This is why Zelda begins referring to the goddess's decisions as her own. The other part of the plan Goddess Hylia made was to make, like DIY, a hero worthy of wielding the Triforce. The stipulations of wielding the Triforce is to be recognized by both gods and mortals referring to the sages and the dragons, as a hero. The next one is earn the blessing of the 3 golden goddesses and the blessing of Hylia, protector of the Triforce. The third stipulation to getting the Triforce is being mortal yourself. The 3 golden goddesses ensured that their kind may not wield the Triforce. Last is to be pure in intention, and pure in this case means unyielding, no hesitations in want. Back to the story again. By tempering his blade and his soul with the blessing of the 3 golden goddesses, Link must get the blessing from the goddess Hylia. Zelda feels a huge burden has been placed on Link simply because he has an unbreakable spirit. Unbreakable spirit meaning he would stop at nothing to achieve what he ultimately wants. In this case, it's to live peacefully with Zelda. Zelda apologizes for using him in this way, for the greater good of the world. Zelda, who is imbued with the goddess Hylia's spirit, gives Link her blessing, therefore gives Link the goddess's sword. Now with Link the owner, the sword officially becomes the true Master Sword, where now it has the power of the goddess of light, Hylia. And because the sword has the blessing of the goddess of light, it has the power to cut through darkness, and only Link can yield it now that he is its official owner. Zelda recognized that now being mortal, and not an immortal goddess, must use her power to keep the seal for thousands of years, and puts herself into a stasis for the day the hero becomes worthy of the Triforce and uses it to defeat demise. This means that though Hylia, goddess of light, won this battle, the war still wages, and she is not strong enough to win. Her last-ditch effort is to make a hero and fight alongside him and gain the Triforce to put an end to Demise, God of Darkness. Link must now find the Triforce and gain the Sage's blessing to wield the Triforce and make his wish, which we already covered is part of living peacefully with Zelda. Though I think at this point it would be more than just with Zelda, because he's not only become closer with Groose and the old lady, and the old one, and the Goron, like he has so many other avenues of wanting peace now. So I think his wish is more than just to Zelda, but just peace in general for all his friends to live in. When I talk about the timeline getting kind of wibbly-wobbly in this sense, is because a lot of people view timelines as a straight line. But when you're talking about omnipotent beings, you're talking about the fourth dimension. Please, look up videos on the fourth dimension. I am not an expert on it. I am not a philosopher. I didn't even go to college for philosophy. The fourth dimension is so out of my understanding that I can just give my vague analysis of exactly what it means. I'll get more into this once we finish the game and why it means what it means and why the fourth dimension applies here so well. We'll get into that. I just wanted to review kind of like a Skyward Sword timeline that I made. Don't make fun of it. I did my best, okay? I know my handwriting's not great. Who cares? Don't give me crap over it. So first, I put down the three golden goddesses' creation. They create the whole story. They create the land and wisdom, the laws, and the beings to uphold the laws, all of that. And then the fissure opens upon the earth and Demise's army attacks. This is where the Great War starts. Hylia was so worried that her new Hylians, and I say new because in the official Hyrule Historia, it says the Hylians were made in the image of the goddess Hylia, hence why they're called Hylians. And their ears are pointed so they can hear the voices of the gods more closely. It says that more than just in Hyrule Historia, it quotes that in a couple of games. Anyway. So Hylia, concerned with her new race of Hylians, ascends them on a rock to the sky, above the clouds, where they'd be safe from evil's reach. And the war ensues. Hylia gains a grave injury. And by grave, I mean it's going to kill her. Yes, she is immortal. Yes, she is a goddess. But she has also been instilled this injury by Demise, who is also immortal and also a god. They hurt each other real bad. Hylia, with her last remaining bits of energy, somehow shoves him back into the earth using the seal, the spike that we had seen. She called upon the three golden goddesses, and the name of their power was able to seal Demise into the ground. But that just being Demise himself, not necessarily his entire army. Girahim, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but Girahim does assume that he is the lord of demons, so that he's like the guiding force. He's now the leader of the demons of the surface to be able to resurrect Demise. His goal in how to do that is to find the injured goddess and sacrifice her in the name of the three golden goddesses to release the seal. Demise, his master, god of darkness, would be back, and darkness would rule the earth. After the goddess Hylia seals away Demise, she buys herself some time for Zelda to return to the past. Pretty much just after she sets her plan in place, it starts enacting. Zelda appears before her. Her plan was to enlighten Zelda with all of her knowledge and imbue her spirit within her. Without Hylia's spirit, Zelda would have never been born. Zelda was never a recycled spirit to begin with. Zelda being a newly created person means Hylia has the opportunity to imbue an empty vessel with her soul. So technically, Zelda is an empty vessel up until she gains Hylia's soul. This is where it gets really wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, gross stuff. So because she creates a vessel, it comes to her, and Zelda, with all the knowledge of everything that the goddess knows, that she cannot defeat Demise, that the world will end, that all this terrible crap will happen, and everything Zelda knows and loves will die unless she accepts. So Zelda accepts Hylia's soul. Hylia then creates Fi to live within the goddess sword, which is already ascended. Remember, she already ascended that rock up above the sky. She sends Fi to sleep inside the sword until the hero appears, or until it's time to call the hero. After that, Zelda has the knowledge and the soul of Hylia, and then Link appears. This is where he traveled through the Gate of Time. And this is where the Master Sword is officially created, like the true Master Sword. The sword is officially Link's now. We skip thousands of years. Link watches Zelda turn herself into a crystal to slumber for thousands of years and blah, 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 blah. Everything. The war is on hiatus. I don't want to say everything is calm, but for the most part, life continues. The scars on the earth are slowly healing, while Demise is in his slumber, and the goddess Hylia and Zelda is in their slumber. There's an era of peace. Thousands of years later, Zelda will be born with the goddess spirit. So this is where the goddess's spirit jumps from the past all the way to the present, where we're talking about now, has taken a human vessel before it's born, before it has a soul, to imbue her soul in it. Goddess Hylia is officially dead at this point. She is no longer Goddess Hylia. She is Zelda. Hylia is dead. The goddess of light is dead. Many years pass. Zelda wants to go to the Knight Academy and become a knight. Link follows her to become a knight himself. The things of the wing ceremony begin. We all know what happens from there. For some reason, Zelda starts hearing the voice of the goddess call to her. Now, this is not the voice of the goddess Hylia as we knew it before. This is the voice of the goddess Hylia in her own mind. This is her own voice calling to her about things that are to happen. Even Link can feel that Demise, as the imprisoned, is awakening. After the wing ceremony, because Zelda's spirit is officially awakened now, Girahim is able to sense the goddess's spirit and grab her out of the sky. This is why this happens now instead of earlier, because the goddess's spirit wasn't awakened until Zelda starts hearing the voices and the imprisoned starts awakening. And this is where Link's adventure begins. At first, he was just chasing Zelda to the Three Springs, where Zelda was being enlightened to the knowledge of the goddess. And remember, the goddess is dead. They're saying purifying her, but really what's happening is she is being reminded of who she really is, who her soul really is. Link finally catches up to them just before they enter the Gate of Time, where Zelda jumps back to accept the goddess Hylia's soul. But let me remind you, the goddess is dead. Even when she jumps back, the goddess is dead. There is no more Hylia at this point. This is where it gets fourth dimensionally and weird, and study on the fourth dimension a little bit, because the fourth dimension sees time differently than us who are stuck in a 3-dimension does. Alright? So the goddess Hylia is dead. Zelda and Impa travel back in time because she has to take Hylia's place, and Impa at that point destroys the Gate of Time that they travel through in Lanara Desert, so Girahim can't chase her back. Now Girahim thinks it's impossible to go back. Link now needs to get stronger because he needs to have a fully tempered goddess sword. So the goddess's master sword, in order to awaken the hidden Gate of Time. So Link goes through and completes his trials in order to temper the sword and his soul. This is also where he begins to prove to the goddesses, the 3 golden goddesses, that's Din, Linaru, and Veore, he truly earns their blessings. This is why the bosses are so different too, because these are different trials. But I'm not gonna say that. Like, Girahim or the Malice from Demise have not affected these bosses, because it truly could have. And as we see in the temple in the Elden Volcano, Girahim points out that, hey, there is a hidden gate of time. I assume Girahim had already defeated the boss that was in there, which means Link has to defeat Girahim, which is a harder test than he was supposed to go through. Anyway, Girahim points out that there is artwork depicting a second gate of time, and it's located where his master is sealed away. So Link beats Girahim. Girahim doesn't stand a chance. He knows he can't challenge Link beyond this point unless he gets stronger himself, so he just doesn't even try. Link goes back to the sealed grounds, and of course the imprisoned breaks out. Groose does his thing with the Gruusinator, and then Link goes through the Gate of Time himself. So we go back. This is where the Master Sword is created. Zelda gives Link the goddess's blessing, and then we're back in the future time. This timeline is only gonna get more confusing as we go. I'm gonna warn you of that right now. When we start actually going back and forth and back and forth, this is where everything gets set into place. I just need you to remember that when a god or goddess dies, they are dead. They are doomed to relive dying in the human's perspective of time over and over and over again, and they cannot change that. Once they die, there is no plans beyond the plans they made before they died, because there is no thinking after. Okay, that's just how the fourth dimension works. I encourage you, I implore you to look up videos about it. Maybe I'll put a few links in the description about fourth dimension physics and references and stuff. But that's that is the most simple way I can explain it. For now, it gets more complicated, but it also gets easier in the future too. So when we finish this game, we're gonna see this timeline again when I do a whole game recap from front to end of the whole of Skyward Sword. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for listening, and have a nice day.